What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, guys. Today is all about the trade deadline, guys. We are going to know in just a few more hours whether or not we are going to make significant changes to this Philadelphia Eagles team, whether or not we are going to do things like continuously overhaul the defensive line. Are we going to add a marquee linebacker? Are we going to go get somebody that can lock down one side of the football field at corner? Are we going to go get a guy that can stretch the field? Hey, even the lack of moves. The lack of moves would tell us what this coaching staff, scouting department, analytics department, and front office ultimately, thinks about this roster. I mean, all that's going to be answered today, guys. Let's get into the topic.
As badly as they played tonight and as uninspired as they played tonight and as light right there. And as
that loss to Dallas was not that long ago. And I hope that this coaching staff, this front office, and for damn sure these players for the rest of this season, if they need inspiration, if they need motivation, remember that feeling walking off of the football field on Sunday night in front of a national televised audience. The way that shit felt. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm concerned that this roster is not good enough the way it is. Okay? I love Deshaun Jackson. I love to see Deshaun Jackson back. But look, that is a risk to run out there with Deshaun Jackson with this particular injury that has he is highly susceptible to re-injuring this. And we already seen that if he goes down, we've been without him now for almost half of the season. If he goes down, we do not have the ability to stretch the field with what we have on there, which means we have to completely restructure this offense at that point. It means Doug Peterson's got to go completely back to the drawing board with Mike Groh, with Deuce Staley, right? With Jeff Stoutland, with his entire offensive coaching staff and revision this Philadelphia Eagles offense. And I got to be honest with you. I think it's a hell of a lot easier at this point to just go get a Robbie Anderson, go get a Devontae Parker, go get an Albert Wilson, go get someone who can stretch the field than to try to recreate your entire offense at this point. It's okay to retool things. I mean, I hope the Eagles are smart enough going forward to keep that 21 and 22-man personnel alongside of that 12-man and 13-man personnel packages for the running game. Because I got to tell you, man, putting Howard and Sanders on the field at the same time, it's really difficult for defenses to match up with. Just the way that putting Deshaun Jackson on the field with a 12-man personnel package with someone like a Jordan Howard or a Miles Sanders in the backfield, with those two tight ends in Ertz and Goddard, with Alshon on the other side is a complete nightmare for teams to match up. Same thing, guys. But this isn't about the offense today, guys. This isn't about the offense. You at this point should know my feelings about the necessity and the need to go get a wide receiver that can stretch this field. Okay? With that said, I'm not in the front office. I don't know if that's going to happen today. I can't promise you that. I don't know. I honestly have no damn clue. I know it should happen, but I don't know that it will. This is what I will say. I thought yesterday's move is either sneakily good or horribly bad. I think it's sneakily good because if you look at the way that this team graded this particular player during the draft last season, 2018 draft, he had a very high grade. I've looked around and I've seen some Cleveland fans are not happy about this trade because this kid played pretty damn well last season as a defensive end. When he was underneath, I believe it was Greg Williams at the time, and he was able to play in a much wider, formation or be a stand-up 4-3 rush defensive end, this kid got him a lot of pressure on the quarterback, okay? Now, when they reverted him back to linebacker as kind of an outside linebacker pass rusher, he hasn't been the same. He hasn't really been able to get on the field. He hasn't been able to be active for games this year. Like, it wasn't the same for this young man, Avery. But I do think this kid, Avery, could be a really good third down pass rush defensive end. But with this young man in the fold, I am curious to see how the team projects this defensive line 3 years from now. 3 years from now, I think it's reasonable to expect that maybe Brandon Graham is no longer a member of this Eagles football team, right? Vinny Curry is probably not a member of this Eagles football team. So now you have a future to where we know one known commodity there. We know that Derek Barnett should probably still be on this football team and is probably going to be the guy that, our guy, the main pass rush, the heir to the throne, if you will. Okay. Outside of Derek Barnett, do we really have any answers? We have a lot of youth. Sharif Miller, right? Deshaun Hall, Josh Sweat, and now we have this young man, Jannard Avery. But Jannard Avery, to me, and look, he could develop into something more, guys. Please don't take this as me criticizing this young man before he's even had a chance to play it down for the Eagles. But what I understand is what has been sold to us as fans is that this young man is going to probably be more of a third down rush end. Okay. Someone who could generate pressure, but maybe is not an every down, first and second down defensive end, basically. More of a third down pass rush defensive end. So 3 years from now, how comfortable are we with a guy like Josh Sweat being the guy that's opposite of Derek Barnett? How comfortable are we with the Deshaun Hall being the guy opposite of Derek Barnett? I like those guys as the backup situations would go. I think both of them are talented guys, but I don't know either of them has developed to the point where I would feel I trust them to be the main bearers of the pressure here for the Eagles. So that leads us to this free agency question this year. Because if we're going to trade away assets, in my opinion, when it comes to a defensive end, we really need to be very careful about, is there an opportunity to get a young guy for the values that we have in picks to basically solidify this defensive line for the future? And that's what I want to jump into today, guys. I want to jump into who are the options. We know the veteran options, but I think this kid kind of takes away the necessity for a veteran option at defensive end. So I want to talk about some of these teams and some of the younger pass rushers they have that maybe they'd be willing to part ways. All right. So team number one I'm going to jump into is the Cincinnati Bengals. And when we think of Cincinnati, most of us really are going to associate two players there, Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins. But there's another gentleman I want to take a little time to focus on, and that's the Ohio State product of Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard, maybe he's expendable to the Cincinnati Bengals. This is an 0-8 football team. If you can get a second or a third round pick for Sam Hubbard, might they consider it? I don't know the Eagles would go as high as a first. Maybe they should. Maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. But where is Cincinnati's value on a kid like this? There's a lot of talk about AJ Green. I would pass on AJ Green personally, but Sam Hubbard, I'd be interested in. This is a young pass rusher that maybe could develop down the future as being the big thing beside Derek Barnett. All right, I want to go to Jacksonville. I made a video where I talked about Calais Campbell, and I think Calais Campbell could still be an option for the Eagles as a defensive tackle who can also, Calais Campbell's a guy that can play inside and outside. He's a versatile piece that if you're trying to make a Super Bowl run, this is one of those guys you go add, especially with the injuries to Malik Jackson. Okay, Malik Jackson being taken away and out of this defense, bringing in a veteran guy that only has a year or two left on his contract, like a Calais Campbell, is a smart move in my opinion. But Calais Campbell is not going to be here 3 years from now. So, what would be the options you could get from a team like Jacksonville if they're willing to part ways with people? Look, they parted ways with Jalen Ramsey. If you're willing to part ways with Jalen Ramsey, what are you willing to part ways with? Because you got two really young pass rushers on that football team. I'd like to take a crack at it if you're willing to hear out offers. Howie Roseman, we should be calling him and seeing what the hell's going on there. Yannick Ngakwe, good young pass rusher. None of us probably know how to say this man's name correctly, but that kid, I would be willing to give a lot up for him. The other player they had there is the Kentucky product that they just recently picked up, drafted, which is Josh Allen. Josh Allen would be a guy that I would be willing to take a chance on. I think there's a lot of potential around Josh Allen. I think this is a kid that, with time to develop, could be a freakishly good athlete here, and would be a nice, combination alongside of Derek Barnett. Moving past Jacksonville, if you went to a team like Atlanta has a couple players I would be interested in. There's not a whole lot I would give up for 3 or 4 years down the road from Atlanta, except for two players in particular, maybe three players. Number one is, I don't think there's a lot of guys who would press Malik Jackson for their job next year, except for Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett's 26 years old. If Atlanta is really in rebuild mode and they want to deal us Grady Jarrett, I would definitely take that. I like Malik Jackson, but Malik Jackson at that point to me would have to be your third defensive tackle rushing the passer. I mean, Grady Jarrett is just, he's a guy you keep on the football field. Um, Outside of Grady Jarrett, what are some of the other names that we're hearing here from Atlanta? I would be really interested in Takaris McKinley, Tank McKinley, 23-year-old pass rusher. Like, I think Atlanta should try to get value out of a guy like that now than trying to wait until this kid reaches free agency and just doesn't want to be a part of the Falcons. I mean, that'd be my opinion if I were in that front office. Outside of that, of course, you have Vic Beasley Jr. Vic Beasley Jr. is not really that young. He's 27, but he's still young enough that he'll be, if the Eagles want to got a guy like that, you can feel comfortable that if he is willing to be a Philadelphia Eagle and you can work out the contract numbers, that's a guy you could probably easily keep around for another 5 years. Moving past that, guys, another team that's been thrown up a lot recently because of the Darius Slay talk is Detroit. My problem with Detroit is they don't have a lot of depth at defensive line. Their defensive line is pretty. It's in as equal trouble as the Eagles' defensive line, in my opinion. There's just not a lot of depth there, so I don't know how willing they would be to part with any pieces. With that said, they do have a young guy there in Ashawn Robinson at defensive tackle that would be of interest to me. He's 24 years old. He's a former Alabama player. I mean, he's coming on the end of that rookie deal. I don't know if it expires this year or the following year, but he's coming up on the end of that rookie deal. He would be a guy I'd be interested in. And then a veteran piece for this season. If we were just solely looking for this season, and if Detroit really is trying to sell off pieces, which I don't get because I still feel they're in contention. But Mike Daniels, the former Green Bay defensive tackle, they got him there as kind of their third guy. Like, I think he'd be a pretty good guy for the Eagles to kind of plug in and make a push with. Last team I'll kind of go with. Well, no, I'll go to two more teams. I'll do two more teams. The other team that I think we could possibly make deals with would be a team like Miami. The problem is with Miami is that schematically they're a lot different from the Eagles. This is a 34 defense. But they do got Davon Godchaux? Godchaux? I don't know how you say his name, guys, but he's a 24-year-old defensive tackle there. I mean, they're definitely trying to part away with pieces there. The other guy they got there is a veteran in John Jenkins. I mean, he'd be a decent piece. I don't know that that's a guy that's going to really give you more than Tim Jernigan will, but we do need depth at defensive tackle, guys. We can't sit here and sleep on it. We're in need. Past that, there's one more team I'd like to talk about, and that's the Tennessee Titans. When I've spoken about the Tennessee Titans previously, I've really talked more so about the need for a player like Adoree Jackson and whether or not the Tennessee Titans would be willing to trade Adoree Jackson. But they do got some intriguing defensive linemen that I'd like to take a shot at. They're not young guys per se. I mean, they got Daquan Jones. Daquan Jones is kind of younger. He's 27. But they also have an absolute stud in Jarrell Casey. So if we're going to make a push this year, this isn't necessarily the protection for the long term. Both these guys, I think, could be around for a 3 to 5 year period if you could work out the contract. But these aren't 23, 24, 25-year-old pass rushers per se. I know a lot of people will look at this and say, man, there's no way Tennessee's going to deal them. I don't know about that. Because this is what I'm saying. They spent a first-round pick on Jeffrey Simmons. I think they want to get this kid into the lineup more, and I don't think they're going to do that with Jarrell Casey there. They got a rookie free agent in Isaiah Mack that I think they like. Trying to get these two young guys in the games, you might deal either Daquan Jones or Jarrell Casey to be able to do that. So I'm not going to discount that. I think that could be a real possibility there. Look, guys, these are some of the names that I'm personally paying attention to today. I'm not predicting that any of this is going to happen. I'm just saying I think we need to improve more on this defensive line. Now, I'm really interested to see what happens at linebacker because there's a sneaky suspicion in the back of my head that maybe I should have made a video about linebacker, but I'm not going to. Because I do think that the Eagles are starting to come to the realization that, look, Nigel Bradham, these last couple of years have not been smooth for him in terms of injuries. He's missing a lot of significant time, and there's not a lot of depth behind them. I think the Eagles are starting to realize that we made a huge mistake in the way that we handled the linebacker position this year. LJ Fort was a mistake to have released. I think we made the correct decision in letting Zach Brown walk. I just think Zach Brown walk away from this team, but I think we did it at the wrong time. I think the timing was off with that particular move. We do need help there, guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't think they're going to make a move there. I think it's the more improbable of everyone, but who knows? I mean, honestly, they definitely have to know that there's a need there. That's the other thing I'd say outside of corner, outside of defensive line help, and outside of a wide receiver that can stretch the field, is I would definitely pay attention to what is going on at linebacker. Because I think that this front office, to some extent, is getting really tired of trying to get these pieces in the draft, trying to get these pieces to free agency. And if they can get this through the trade, if they can pick up a guy or two they know are going to be contributors to this team, I think that they're probably going to pull the trigger today. All right, guys, I'm out of here. That's it. That's all I got for y'all. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys, tell me what you think, guys. How do you feel about this defensive line? I like this young kid we just added. I like the potential of this young kid, but I'm not sold on this team in 2021 right now. What does this team look like in 2021 to you? Where do you feel comfortable with? What is your thoughts on linebacker? What are your thoughts on this trade deadline? What do you think the Eagles are going to do? All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here. You know what time it is. It's time to go. EAGLES. Let's go, Eagles, baby.